Good. And you? How are you doing?
Good.
I've missed you. I wondered if you were sick or something.
Uh, Personal issues. We'll just
Oh,
leave
I'm
it at that.
sorry.
So item number one is call to order. In the chair statement, this meeting is being recorded by ad hoc committee, additional funding for the new fire station. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time.
Yes, Jaden Grazik.
Okay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda would be roll call. So I guess I'll get that going. Councilor Ricketts,
Here?
Councilor Forgy.
Here.
Thank you. The discussion, let's see. So the next item is approval of meeting minutes, March 23rd, 2022.
So moved, Ricketts?
Thank you. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Public hearings, there are none. Are there any motions? No motions? All right, so we'll move right into item number 6, which is discussion. The first item on the list is to discuss the alternates to be included in the RFP request for proposal package. And with that being said, I think, do we have the OPM from representing Greenfield for this project on the call? I can't see.
Let's see him.
I do not see him either.
Okay.
Apologize for that. Although you have me.
That was my next step, David. Do you have any identification of any of the alternates?
I do.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to fool around with my. You don't see this on my screen. All right. I have the agenda. Let me get rid of the agenda. Okay. All right. So we had a meeting. We had a meeting on the 14th, and we added 2 alternates, I believe, to the list. One was the outbuilding, and the cost of that would be approximately $206,000. That's the number 1 alternate. And then the metal roof is the second alternate, and that's estimated at $132,000.
And the metal roof, is that with a deduct, not doing
Chief's
shingle?
here. That's good. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Derek.
The alternate, that was the net difference between doing asphalt shingle roof. Okay.
Yes, I'm saying that cautiously, but I believe so. Yes. That's
okay.
Yep. Again, the chief's here. He can help. We kind of split duties. Butch and I do certain duties, and he does most of the construction duties. And so I've certainly paid attention so I could be here in case he wasn't. But if there's any details that you want to talk to the chief about, but that takes us that much over what the number was that we gave you last time. Those are if everything comes in lower than we hope, then we would add those in.
Okay.
To fill back. We did get. So can I continue speaking?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Since you're here to probably listen to me. Instead of I think that the original time frame for construction was going to be 15 to 16 months, which would have blown past the lease for the temporary fire station. And now we're hopeful, based on the way that everything has been changed. I can't tell you specifically why this is the case, but we were informed that this is the case, that maybe a 12 to 13 month construction timeline, which will save money, because every month we're renting the fire. It's $40,000 to $50,000 in additional spending for the temporary.
Yeah. So contractor end, it's general conditions too, right? You're paying supervision, you're paying project management, so it will save time on the construction end too.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's we went through ritual maybe of picking out the colors and this is and that's inside the building, the materials for inside, which they needed to know to go to bid. So now my understanding is that we're on the timeline that we hoped, and that will go out to bid, you know, when they're ready, when they've designed it properly, and that was expected to be, you know, June, the latest, early July, which meant we'd get the bids back in, I don't know, July or August, choose the construction person, and then but I think again, I've never gone through this experience before, so don't. What I'm telling you is what I know, what I understand. But if you think I should refine it and be more specific, I will, because we're having a meeting this week as well.
Right.
What was I going to say? So there's an once the project is actually designed, so it's out ready to go to bid. I believe there's another estimator situation where they actually tell us again what that might cost. So we'll have another time to know what they believe the cost will be. Again, you know, we're going to get bids, so the bids are the real cost. But so that's when the rubber will hit the road, when we actually get the bids.
Yeah, and that will allow us to see how much funds we have to allocate if you do come under, and with your 2 alternates that you want to bring in, will allow us to see what the net difference is. So that's important to us.
So I'm guessing that our conversation with you in reality base will probably be sometime over the summer, you know, I can tell you a real number, and then you can do your magic.
Okay. And in the meantime, we still have a few other things the chief in the last meeting brought up, like the outdoor patio area, the museum, that, you know, we could keep discussing it, additional ways to raise revenue for that.
Right. Go ahead. I think that was,
no, go ahead.
Thinking of fundraising for that, not to ask I think we're really trying. I mean, you're being so supportive and gracious and positive about this. I think our goal is to just, you know, provide you with what we really need from your funding, and then the other things we'll do on our own, like there's a memorial, the things in the museum, and the patio that we would think about fundraising.
Okay, perfect.
Right, and we kind of all decided to stop after those 2 alternates. That's, you know, those are important. And they're necessary to do the construction.
Absolutely.
Where these other things can come in later. And so that's what we would be asking you for, is for support for construction.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So
So
go ahead.
Questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilor Forgy.
Thank you. Okay, so you just added 2 alternates to the list, but I know I've seen the total list before, but can you tell us what the other items are on that list? Can someone tell me that? Tell me, because I don't really know off the top of my head.
I'm sorry, do you mean, Pete, just so you understand, the alternates, I mean, I'm sure maybe you do understand better than I do, but the way the alternates work is that I think we have to have them ready in advance, so that, let's say we had a budget of 10 and the alternates cost $2 more. If the bids come in at 8 and we still have 10, then we can slide the 2 alternates lawfully into, and they're I think that because of the bidding process, that we can package them in at that point in time. So then what we would spend the 10 on the 2 other things that we didn't think we could spend the 10 on, because it cost 12 and we only had 10. See what I'm saying? So those 2 things are outside the scope of what we think we're gonna, what we have as our budget. If we were to come to you and you were willing to spend all the money and go higher than what we're thinking of now, that would be great. But the point of this is to have these 2 things ready, so that if the bids come in lower, we could slide them in as part of the bid process. We wouldn't have to go outside of that process.
So there's only 2 alternatives that are being suggested at this point.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Again,
that's all I needed to know.
If the chief, I know you're here, if you want to speak, could cover me, that's fine. But I think his not speaking means I'm probably close.
So David is absolutely correct with the alternates, but we need to keep in mind that we took out the furnishings and stuff out of the budget to get the building to the point where we could build it. So there is that, in addition to the alternates that are listed. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay.
And if I recall correctly, the furnishings were around $1 million. Was that correct?
Is it $1 million in our budget? Is it that much? I don't want to speak, but I remember it was like 700 something thousand. Maybe that's. But see, there's two different things. We're in order. If you were to say that we can't give you any more funding, then the furnitures, fixtures, and equipment would come out of the spending.
Mhm.
And then we would be down by that 700,000 in terms of spending. So right now we have, the way that we've maneuvered and the way that the ARPA funds are coming in, we have enough money to spend to build the fire station, but we need your help if we want to. We think it's prudent to add in the furniture, fixtures, and equipment at this time, so that we need that much money more from you, plus some other items, plus the alternates if you're willing to do it. So
Okay.
it's considerable. I mean, it's over $1 million.
Okay.
At least based on these estimates. But again, that's just so that you understand when and if the numbers come out, you're not shocked by that much more money being necessary. But on the other hand, if we get lucky and the bids come in lower, then the conversation would be different. But we're giving you I hate to say the words worst case scenario, but it's the scenario that appears to us now. So it would be, you'd be restoring that, you'd be restoring some of the other items. I mean, I think we have 12.5 as far as money that we can put our hands on, but maybe it's less than that. Maybe it's, anyway, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but then we would go out to over 13 million if the estimates stay the same.
Okay. All right. So, from here, I think the next major milestone is identifying the total cost from the bids, right? So that's very important to us, because whether we're trying to come up with $1 million or 500 or 250 makes a big difference, right?
Yes. No
Which
question.
kind of ties into the next item, if nobody has any comments on this item. Any further comments? I think you're muted.
Sorry. So the alternatives, like the metal roof and stuff, that's because you definitely don't want that as your first go-to, right? Are you doing it just to bring down the cost?
According to the chief at the last meeting, he's more satisfied with the roof that we're having. Although if you put a metal roof on, it clearly will last for 50 years and you won't have to come back to it. So it might be worth it when you think of how things inflate over time. It might be worth it to do it, but I think that depends on how everything plays out. You know what I mean? It's like, if you understand how all this is playing out, when we get to the end, the discussion will be, is it worth it to spend that extra money or not? But the first goal, I think the first thing, which is the most important, is the outer building.
Yes, that frees
That's
up room
critical.
as main
Yeah,
building.
that's critical, because there's a lot of equipment that needs to be secured.
Mhm.
And that's another 200,000.
Okay.
Okay.
More or less.
Yeah. So there's really not much for us to do until summer. We really have to wait for everything to go out for bid and get back.
Yes.
Right, but you could, as people that are thinking along the lines of like, how are we going to do this, which is the next thing on the agenda. I mean, I can think of two ways, but again, the mayor has to present to you how to do it. But one is that, again, hopefully you're realizing, and I think this came up at the last meeting, that the library paying down, the first $500,000 and giving you maybe another $500,000 or another $1 million reduces the debt that you have. So you're always pushing up against the debt ceiling. When we came to you in November, we were up against the debt ceiling, and that was the reason you couldn't go above the. Derek, you weren't on the council then, but that was the reason that they couldn't go above the $5 million. But if the debt ceiling has gone down, then you have room to continue to borrow up to that debt ceiling. I'm not saying that you should or you shouldn't, but based on the philosophy that existed in November, it's the same philosophy. So you have room. And the other is to take from stabilization some money. So you have those two places that you can go to, and you wouldn't impact the budget, because you know, the paying back the debt is kind of frozen into the budget. You know, you're always having a certain amount of debt to pay off. So those are two places you could look to without dramatically changing the budget.
Okay.
And it would depend on how much we want that we ask for, how close you get to the edges of those things, and how you know what I mean. But so we don't know the number, so we don't know which way you would go.
And regardless, we're still short the $750,000 for furnishings, no matter what happens. Right. So what we should be doing here is identifying how we could come up with money to deal with the furnishings that aren't in the budget right now. And then if there are alternates that come in and we only have to come up with $500,000 towards furnishings, at least we're accounting for those issues.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So if I could jump in here, so this is kind of a moving target when we're talking about this stuff. We have applied for a grant for the SCBA filling station. If that comes in, that's 100,000 off of the 700,000. We have applied for another grant to help with the cost of the equipment in the EOC that went out last week. And so, you know, we can't bank on it, but there are options that we have worked for to try to minimize the cost, what we're coming back. And until that information comes back, it's going to be a little bit of a moving target.
Yep. And the cost of or the duration of construction is 12 months, if I heard you correct. So, I mean, in a sense, we could be looking at some of this money in the next budget season.
Yes. Well,
right. So that gives us some time.
So I would assume, this is just my assumption, unless I'm instructed otherwise, I would think we're going to have a good picture when we start building capital for next. I start capital about September, October. Because the stuff that we're talking about, like with the furnishings and whatnot, that is not equipment that is going to be needed until the end of the project.
Correct.
And by then, I hope that we are successful on the many grants that we've applied for.
Okay.
But we can't sign a contract for construction currently, you know, which will begin in August, without knowing that we have all the money we need to build the fire station.
Yes.
You couldn't take that to the next budget season. You couldn't wait till the next capital season, for example, to fund that piece. You'd have to, we need, in order to sign a contract, we need to know that we have all the money we are promising to pay in the project. But you're right. And what the chief's trying to say is, since the FF&E will be bought later, that could wait to another budget cycle. See what I'm saying?
Yes, I totally understand. We're not
under contract. We won't be under contract for that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, obviously we would like everything to be firmed up sooner than later, but you have to understand that the first and foremost thing is we have to have enough money to build the fire station at the time we sign the contract.
Yes, I understand that. So what I was getting at was the furnishings would likely be in the next budget season. So if the alternates are $380,000 and we have to come up with $380,000, how can we do that in this budget season? That's where I was going with that. So then we can focus on the furnishings in the next budget season, which would help, right?
Correct.
Our goal here is to really build you the fire station you want, right? So if it comes down to $380,000, this comes down to, and these are all fictitious numbers for now until we get the bids back, right? So, which it's tough for us though, because we're not going to get the bids back till July, August potentially, and the fiscal budget ends in June.
Yep, June 30.
Right, so you're kind of right on that line there for us, where we either need to commit or not commit, right? So it's good to know those preliminary estimates on the alternates, and maybe we could, from our standpoint, try to find a way to come up with that money. And if it's not used, we could continue it into the furnishing in the next year's budget. Is kind of what I'm thinking. But I'm kind of new to municipal finance, so
I'll let Chris will explain to you. You can borrow during the year. You don't have to just borrow now. You can make financial decisions all throughout the year. You don't have to wait. You're not frozen. Once July 1st comes up, you're not frozen to borrow money until you talk about it next spring. You can borrow money anytime. The problem will be that you're going to have to act quickly, because we're going to have to. The sooner we sign the contract, the less time we're in the temporary fire station. So it's really going to, like, we're talking now, and it's all blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden we're going to say, please, we need X, please meet, please approve it, and then we can sign the contract, and that will shorten the distance between construction and the temporary going down. That's how quickly it's going to happen. So
Okay.
Maybe 30 days.
Okay.
So the other thing that has been mentioned before, but it's always good to keep it in mind, is that we will close one fiscal year, open another, and there will be a free cash figure that will be coming forward as a result of the year closing. And that free cash figure usually gets allocated by the council on the mayor's order. And certainly we have capital stabilization, we have construction pieces that can be legitimately done with those types of things. There will be some of that money. And then also when we close the fiscal year, we'll see the impact of revenue collection this year as well. How have we done? Have we done extremely well? What looks very promising? And we can perhaps identify further revenue sources going forward when we know what the picture is at the close of this fiscal year.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Forgy.
So that kind of ties into our next item as well, the additional revenue sources, right? And
Right.
I was kind of leaning on Councilor Forgy's experience in that avenue, because she kind of understands how it works. Makes me wonder some of the marijuana revenue that we're making, how the mayor allocates those fundings. It might be a good purse string to pull for us, is if we dedicate some of the marijuana income from the tax revenue gain from that towards the fire station. But like I said, I'm new to municipal finance, so I'm going to leave this open to discussion.
Well, if you understand municipal finance, you always know that the mayor proposes and the council disposes.
Yep.
So actually, that's the line that's drawn. We can't really tell the mayor what to do with the money. We can make suggestions, and we can, as we're talking right now, the mayor will get a transcript of this. Marijuana revenue, the way I understand it right at the moment, that revenue is dedicated to two pieces, I believe. I know Liz isn't on tonight. Don't quote me, but I believe part of it goes to what we call OPEB, which is retirement benefits. And we are obliged, it's a, what do I want to say? It's something, it's a balance we continually carry year after year after year. And it goes towards retirement benefits. And anything else would go into the general fund at this particular point. Now, maybe as more marijuana facilities come online, we could have a discussion with the mayor and Liz about having some of that dedicated to the fire department for X number of years, next year or the year after. Can we take the excess of what we've had and really put that toward a funding source? Put that funding source towards the finishing pieces on the fire station at this point. The other thing is again, you have to look at, what I look at as funding sources are, capital construction. There was a lot that went into that fund. And that gets used, as you're seeing now on your budgets, to put in place certain projects and pay for certain projects without borrowing. But again, that will be something that we can look at in the next fiscal year as that starts to build. And the third place is, although the mayor has been extremely generous with the ARPA funds, that's the third piece. If it's a small amount, if it's 100,000 to close the gap or 200,000 to close the gap, she was generous with 100.5 million going into the fire department project. But if there's still a little bit left here and there, maybe that could be directed toward the fire department project at the end of the day. But to me, the finance knowledge that I have at this point, we are crossing one fiscal year into the other, and I think it's really important that we might want to have a little hiatus in this committee and come back again in July to as soon as we hear, as soon as it's reported by the chief or David or the committee itself that they've got all the numbers in place and everything's ready to go, and here are the final numbers.
Mhm.
After the estimator comes forward and here are the final numbers, then we revamp ourselves up, and get going again on some of these items that we've been talking about. Just a
Yeah.
suggestion. I'm just thinking.
I would
I
agree with
know.
that. Would you like to make a motion?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd love to make a motion that the ad hoc committee postpone the next few meetings that we may have. I think we've got one scheduled, so we probably need to cancel that meeting
Mhm.
and reschedule a meeting in July, which is a good time. We'll know that the bids come in. So my motion is we should postpone our next few meetings and start up again in July when we know the bids are in, so we can do some more work on the money piece for the fire station.
I second that.
Okay.
I think it's smart. We'll have the money. I want to know what free cash is also going to look like, and then all the revenue sources. That is important because things come before council, and as we make all of our decisions going here forward, we'll know some of the things that we may even be reducing, and hopefully, my eye would be to be putting that toward fire stations. So
Okay.
it's a good time to just be on top of everything.
I have one question, and I don't know. I'm trying to think about the motion itself. If we make this motion and something comes in earlier, are we restricting ourselves?
Good
Should we
question.
just make a motion that that we cancel our next meeting and we keep ourselves fluid until the time comes when we need to meet, which would be in July. So Penny would have to remove her second, and I'll remove that original motion, and we'll keep things fluid if we can.
Okay.
Okay. Penny, will you do that?
We could do that. I guess my question for David would be, should we check in with you bi-weekly come end of May to see where you're at with the revised estimate, or?
No, here's a conversation that might be useful.
Well, the
As
fire
you
station
mentioned,
has meetings. There's a fire station building committee, and they meet all the time still.
yeah, you could come to our meeting or but
Yeah.
let's think about how much time it would take for the council to vote and appropriate from the time it learns of that information. Okay. And it would learn from you. So there'll even be a delay. We meet with your committee. You'd have to then, so if you meet on the third Wednesday of the month and you have to have this on the agenda for the chairs meeting at the first of the month, and let's say August was that month, so that would mean that you would have to know all the details. All of us would have to know the details, because the mayor would then have to decide how. So it would have to be some. I would say that this group should meet maybe with the mayor as well at that point, and there'd be some idea about how she intends to proceed, so that at chairs of the month that you're going to vote, there can be a clear motion to appropriate blah 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 from blah blah blah. It goes to Ways and Means before that month's meeting, and then the council can vote. So there's a timeline. So let's say if we have this meeting in August where you catch up with us, you won't be able to vote on this till September. So I think while July would be the latest that we should be coming to you, because we want to use the month of July to organize and get everything together so that the mayor makes a presentation, and by chairs on August 1st or whatever that date is, you would be ready to have a motion on the agenda. That's how I would look, just so we could think about how we're going to have these conversations, because this group then has to become part of Sheila. The president would have to know what's going on, and the council would have to catch up. So it doesn't happen in a minute. You couldn't vote on this in July if we met in the beginning of July. You could not,
Unless we had a special meeting, correct?
right? But even then, it wouldn't be. There's a lot to do. There's a lot for the council to do and catch up and understand. That's so. Yes, if it was an emergency and it was like, we have to have this money because we need to sign a contract because that'll save us $50,000 at the end, and you all know about it and everything else, that'll be fine. But what I'm saying is that in the general course of it, it would take probably 6 weeks from the beginning of July to your middle of, but if you wanted to have a special meeting, that would be great. But again, the point is that you can't move on your own. You can't move that fast. So we have to really understand that there's a lag time. So I would like to actually be able to talk to you by the end of June if we can.
Okay.
If we're ready to go and we're going out to bid, then hopefully, and we have estimations, maybe we can have conversations about what we think is going to be the bid numbers. So you guys can start really thinking about that these numbers are close to real. So the month of May probably is a dead month, and you might want to follow us and see. And if we need something, we'll contact you. But certainly in June, we should start talking again, because I think we really have to organize this so that, we kind of know what we're doing by the time the bids go out.
Okay.
I think.
So this is Sheila. Can I just say something very quickly?
Sure.
So special meetings are not as simple as they may seem. And I know Penny knows this because she's been president before. It's a lot of effort for the clerk's office. And it's something I'm trying to avoid. So we can definitely keep it in our back pocket. It's a tool that's available to us if we need it, but I really would like that to be the last resort if possible.
Understood. Plus, you might not even get a full council at a special meeting. So,
and because you're talking summer as well. And as far as making sure that it gets to us, even if the mayor wants to kick it to council, you're talking 5 days before the first of the month, even. I mean, there's even a cutoff to bring things forward.
I see. Even so, that's what I'm saying. So by the end of July, like 5 days before August 1st, we would have to know what's coming before the council. So the hard work is going to be June and July. You know what I mean? The end of June and the beginning of July will be when we're really scurrying around as a committee to figure out what we're going to do. And the mayor as well. So you should just get through your budget season, and you have hard work to do. I did watch your whole meeting last week.
Well, kudos to you.
I hope you don't have that long of a meeting for the next budget meeting, but I understand that it's hard. You have to do it. So I think you should just focus on the budget. You're caught up to us, and we will educate you in June when we know more, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea.
Thank you, David.
Do I need to change the motion, or am I looking for an amendment? How does everybody think about that?
I still want to do the July. I just have a problem with the redundancy at this point, because if it gets close, we'll know, because the Fire Station Building Committee, they're going to be yelling this from the rooftops if these bids all start rolling in quickly. And we're our own ad hoc. So I don't think it's going to be that difficult for us to try to pull a meeting together once we know.
Okay.
Because this is something that's not part of chairs of full council. That's the whole point of it being an ad hoc. But I just want to make sure my time is productive. So when we really know what we need to look at, that's when I want to meet. I know what it feels like to be on other committees and trying to listen to all the budget meetings and everything. I don't want to take the Fire Station Building Committee folks, coming to our meetings and their meetings and then meeting separately and trying to figure all this stuff out. I think the mayor can be in touch with the head of our Ways and Means and Derek and our president. And I think the three of them could meet together and then let us know as an ad hoc and then full council if we need to work quicker.
Okay.
Not that I'm trying to do less work, but I'm trying to put the power where it belongs. And that would be the head of Ways and Means, our council president, and Derek as the head of this committee. And then just pull me in whenever, and that's it. I'm ready. I'm ready to go for it and do what we can do to find that funding. But yeah, let's just do the bids and see how everything works out.
Yeah, your committee's all caught up.
Yes.
We're good.
I can agree with that. Yep.
Okay.
All
We have to-
right.
Do we have to vote on that motion? The motion's been made and seconded.
Yeah, can we vote on that motion?
Yep. If you want.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay. And-
So I'm just going to go through the rest of the meeting minutes and formality, but no new business, no old business.
Yep.
And the next meeting will be in July at some point. We'll cancel the following meeting with the city clerk.
Perfect.
And then we're going to go to adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Okay, so one moment. So there is Thursday night, there's a fire station building committee meeting. So I don't know if it's a big agenda or anything. Do you think there's lots on there that we would learn, or are we truly caught up?
I don't have the agenda in front of me. No, I don't think there's anything new that your ad hoc committee would be interested in terms of spending. It might be more detailed stuff, that we have to make switches or this or that. But
Okay,
you never know what's going to come out in a meeting. But the agenda doesn't have anything that's earth shattering. So we're just waiting now to have them do the design and do what they have to do so we can go out to bid. I think we're in pretty good shape.
Okay.
You are having us meet as this ad hoc committee for the last several weeks or a couple of months has caught you up to everything that you need to know. And if something else happens, I certainly let the chair know or let you all know in some fashion.
Okay, and I guess the only other thing I'd have to say at this time is I just would like the community to know that Councilor Healy, myself, and Councilor Forgy were here. If anyone does have any ideas or support about the fire station they want to share with us, they certainly do not have to wait till all numbers and stuff are in. But if they have any thoughts, bring it to us. And, I'm sure Chief Strand will not mind us making a phone call saying, guess what? We have somebody who wants to donate X amount of thousands to you. So I just want the community to know that we're here and we're very much interested, and that people should keep thinking about it, keep working on it. In the back of your heads, things might come up because we want to be there for the fire station. We do not want to let them down at all. They deserve this. They've waited a long time. So we want this to be as deserving to them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other topics before I adjourn?
No.
Thank you. I'm going to take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Ricketts.
Second, Forgy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, committee.
Very good. Nice
Yep.
to see everybody.
Yep.
Take care. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
everybody.
Derek.
Have a good night.